Finally, some great news for Xbox fans and the Xbox community. And it is that the European Commission have approved the acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Xbox by Microsoft. So this merger has been approved with one of the biggest regulatory bodies that needed to approve this deal for this thing to potentially be able to go through. But let's quickly talk about what happened here. So they went ahead, they approved this deal, and essentially everything that we've heard about with this deal, that the remedies and the reasons why they potentially would have blocked this deal, all was encompassed here with the European Commission's decision, where they first of all recognized that there would be no harm to consoles. There would be no harm to PlayStation. They also recognize something that I think is refreshing to see. They say here that the European Economic Area, where there are 4 Sony PlayStation consoles for every Microsoft Xbox console bought by gamers, indeed, Microsoft would have a strong incentive to continue distributing Activision games via a device as popular as Sony's PlayStation. And that was one of the main arguments against this deal right from the get-go when it was first announced. We saw PlayStation going out there saying that if they took the game off of PlayStation, it would just destroy their company. They wouldn't even be able to offer PlayStation Plus. All of these crazy things that they were arguing with absolutely no reason to argue it, because it makes zero business sense for Microsoft to take Call of Duty off of the PlayStation platform with the amount of people that play Call of Duty, the amount of people that play Activision Blizzard games on that platform. It would make no business sense. They would be not making as much money. They wouldn't be able to make back all the money that they lost from doing that. And the European Commission here recognized that. So it was refreshing to see that side of things. And they agreed with what the CMA said. They don't say specifically that they talk about the CMA in their release, but they agreed with the fact that there would be no substantial lessening of competition and harm to the console market. So that was something that we knew wasn't going to affect whether this deal was going to go through or not. But the thing that people had questions about, as I mentioned many times throughout making videos about what was going on, was cloud gaming. That is the main thing that needed to be looked at. And as we know, cloud gaming was the piece of this deal that got it blocked by the CMA. And the European Commission looked at the exact same thing and came to an opposite decision. And here is what they say. The proposed remedies to address the competition concerns identified by the Commission in the market for the distribution of PC and console games via cloud game streaming services, Microsoft offered the following comprehensive licensing commitment with a 10-year durations. A free license to consumers in the EEA, which is the European Economic Area, that would allow them to stream via any cloud game streaming services of their choice. All current and future Activision Blizzard PC and console games for which they have a license, a corresponding free license to the cloud game streaming service providers to allow EEA-based gamers to stream any Activision Blizzard PC and console games. Now, they also say this here, that these licenses will ensure that gamers that have purchased one or more Activision games on a PC or console store, or that have subscribed to a multi-game subscription service that includes Activision games, have the right to stream those games with any cloud game streaming service of their choice and play them on any device using any operating system. So there you have it. They say that the remedies that Microsoft offered, which we saw multiple times before any decisions were made from the CMA or from the EU, with Microsoft offering the 10-year deals to Boosteroid, to Ubisoft, to Enware, to Nvidia, to Nintendo, those 10-year deals were sufficient for the European Commission to say that they are okay with putting this deal through, that they are going to approve this deal and that it isn't going to harm competition, which was the exact opposite as to what the CMA said. And the CMA actually responded to this. They responded to the EU approving this deal, and here's what the CMA said. So they had a 5-part tweet saying, our response to the European Commission's announcement today on Microsoft Activision, the UK, US, and European Commission authorities are unanimous that this merger would harm competition in cloud gaming. The CMA concluded that the cloud gaming needs to continue as a free competitive market to drive innovation and choice in this rapidly evolving sector. Microsoft's proposal, accepted by the European Commission today, would allow Microsoft to set the terms and conditions for this market for the next 10 years. This would replace a free, open, and competitive market with one subject to ongoing regulations of the games Microsoft sells the platforms to which it sells them, and the conditions of sale. This is one of the reasons the CMA's independent panel group rejected Microsoft's proposal and prevented this deal. While we recognize and respect the European Commission is entitled to take a different view, the CMA stands by its decision. So the CMA here doubling down on the decision that they made, which obviously they would because they've made the decision. It's going through appeals. They're not going to go ahead and back out of blocking this deal now. This thing is going to go all through the appeals process, from which we heard could go all the way to 2024, 2025, a very long time before a final decision is made by the CAT, which is the appeals tribunal in the UK, where Microsoft right now is going to be presenting their case to. So they are saying that they think the European Commission is wrong, that they're right, and that this deal is going to still hinder cloud gaming. And you look at some of the things the CMA talked about with the blockage of their deal. One of the main things that people keep referring to, which I think is just crazy because it really shows that they fully do not understand the entire market, the entire Xbox Game Pass model, all that type of stuff, is they continuously refer to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate users and thinking that all of them are subscribing to the service for cloud gaming, which obviously is not the case. It's probably a very small amount of people from Xbox Game Pass Ultimate where their primary reason for subscribing was actually for cloud gaming. So I think little things like that kind of show that the CMA didn't have a great grasp as to everything within the market with gaming, within Xbox, within this whole entire deal. And the 10-year deal to them that was offered to all of these smaller companies just wasn't good enough because they don't want it to be regulated with enforcement, which was another thing here that they used to go ahead and block the deal. But the European Commission saw it differently, and this is a big win for Microsoft. And as of now, we wait to see what's going to happen with the FTC, because the FTC is the next major one, as they have already sued to block the deal. They're going to court August 2nd. But the question now is, with the EU approving the deal, will the FTC say, okay, let's make our deal and avoid going to court and get this thing approved? That's the question everybody has. But let's say at the end of the day, the FTC does go ahead and approve this deal, or the FTC goes to court and they lose in court and the deal does get approved. What is the way forward for this deal in the CMA? Now, the one thing that I do understand so far is that they can go ahead and close this deal without the CMA. Now, this specifically comes from Webb Bush and Michael Patcher talking about what they could do in the UK. And it literally is just keeping Activision Blizzard games off of Game Pass, off of cloud gaming. It says here, should the appeal prove unsuccessful, Patcher said Microsoft could still win the CMA's approval by agreeing to keep Activision Blizzard titles off of its Game Pass subscription service in the UK. It can separate Game Pass UK from Game Pass elsewhere, either by creating a separate entity in the UK that can easily be monitored by the CMA or by an appointed third party, or by merely managing the UK business separately. We expect that this will be sufficient for the CMA to rule that the merger is acceptable on the condition that Activision titles are not available on Game Pass. And if Microsoft will agree to this condition subject to an appeal, should it prevail, it captures full value from the acquisition. Should it fail, it captures most of the value, but its prospects for Game Pass growth in the UK, a lower percentage of global GDP, will be limited due to lower amount of content available on the service. So obviously, I think overall, this is not a route that Microsoft wants to go down. They don't want to have to pull Activision Blizzard stuff off of Game Pass in the UK, not give them access to the cloud gaming features of Game Pass with these games. They want to be able to offer it to everybody, as many people as possible. But apparently, according to Webb Bush, they could still get this deal passed by the CMA by doing that. So there's still a way forward. And now with the European Union, European Commission approving this deal, I think Microsoft they're going to push through until the end, and we'll see again what happens with the FTC. But this is big news. This is a positive thing for this deal. This is a positive thing for Xbox fans out there. And for me, the big thing here is that I want this deal to go through for the Xbox Game Pass side of things. At the end of the day, to get more of these games into Game Pass day one, it's a major win. Think about Diablo coming over. Think about the Call of Duties, the Overwatches, the Crash Bandicoots, the Spyros, just so many games, the Tony Hawks, all coming into Xbox Game Pass and getting these games available day one is a big uptick for the Xbox ecosystem. And then from Microsoft's perspective, they're giving these 10-year deals. They're giving these free licenses for these games to be used across all of these different services, again, which I think is even further proving the fact that they truly do want this deal for mobile gaming. I talked about this in a stream earlier. The percentage of gaming that is mobile gaming is far greater than anything else. And if you're Microsoft out there, you want to be trying to compete in that. And I think blocking this deal is bad for consumers on the mobile side of things too, because you're saying we don't want competition with Apple and Google, where Microsoft is willing to try to go and compete with those two juggernauts in mobile gaming. Even we've seen articles of them coming out and talking about building a mobile store specifically to compete. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward, but some good news for Xbox, some good news with the EU and the European Commission approving this deal. But I'll leave the video there, guys. Let me know what you think about this. If you enjoyed this deal, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.